JD Runnels here, Sooners Helping Sooners, and already introduced Coach Switzer. And Coach, before you get back into your coaching stuff, I just want to say thank you. One, you showed emotion here, and Coach, I've told the story before, but the reason why I even started podcasting was I watched that dang DVD that Jakey had with you guys when you and Bosworth and Spencer Tillman, and I memorized that thing. And when you showed emotion, I'm getting chills right now. I still know where I was seeing you getting emotional changed my life because it showed me how much you care about your players. And that is the type of coach that I love. The hearing, Coach, I wouldn't be able to play freaking fullback if it weren't for you. Being honest, I wouldn't. I just don't. I don't think that position would have been there. So thanks to you. But go back into coaching and just tell us as far as Coach Fairbanks, New England, all that, and you coming here.
Well, I started out, obviously came with Jim McKenzie in Oklahoma in 1966, and we had beaten Texas 8 years, and we did that and beat undefeated Nebraska here in Norman on national television, and that was great. Jim was on his way, and I knew Jim could do this, and we were going to have a great program, and Jim was going to be our leader and head coach, and he dies of heart attack April 26, 1968, and 1967, in the spring, during spring practice. And we bury him 3 or 4 days later in Gary, Indiana, where he's from. And I remember on that trip back from Gary, Indiana, Chuck gets a phone call, and I knew then that the university was making a decision. It's in the middle of spring practice and all, and they couldn't get rid of us. Remember, we had a staff that just went 10-1, just number 2 in the country. Their second year here. And so they named Chuck head coach. And then Chuck pulled me aside and he said, I want you to go back offense, because I just moved to defense in that spring. And I said, okay. And we went, but Chuck wanted me to do this, and we had Owens run tailback. So we stayed in that offense again, 68, 69. And we won Southwest Conference Championship in 68. Not Southwest, Big 8 Conference Championship. So we now won 2 in a row. And then in 69, Steve Owens wins the Heisman. It leads the nation in rushing and all. And we were a good team, but we weren't that good a team. And I think obviously I was giving the ball to Steve too much, but we weren't as good as we could have been. I look back on it and I really regret it. Some things I could have done differently. But 1970 is when I used to sit in the defensive staff room with Jim McKenzie, not Jim McKenzie, but Jim was deceased, with Pat James, defensive coordinator, who'd played with McKenzie at Kentucky with Coach Bryant and all, who'd coached at Alabama for Coach Bryant for 10 years before he left Alabama. Back, he coached Namath and all those great Alabama teams, and Leroy Jordan, all those great defenses that Alabama had. Pat was their defensive coordinator. Well, anyway, I go, I get the 67, 1970 season started. Chuck, Owens is gone, Heisman Trophy winner. We can change our offense now. We need to do something else. We can't go pound their ass, and it already proved to me we can't do that. We got to do something else. But the thing about it was that Texas has started running something they called the wishbone. And I would sit in there at night with Pat James. He and I would sit there and look at film with Texas offense, because he had to, because he got to defend it. And I watched it. I watched it execute and what they were doing. And I realized then, this is something we ought to do. We got better quarterbacks than they got. Jack Milton's a better quarterback. We got more speed than they got. And our offensive linemen are just as good as theirs, And so I told Chuck, this is what we ought to do. We ought to go to wishbone. He said, well, we just changed structure of defense. We went to a 50 defense, 4 deep secondary. And I said, I don't care what we do on defense, and that's the right decision, I promise you. Lucius Selman, nose guard, and all these other guys, hey, linebackers that fit them, great. That's a good scheme for us, and we need to be doing that. And that's the load, and it gets us out of an 8-man front, 3 deep secondary, which wasn't worth a damn against the wishbone. Right. Terrible against the wishbone. People don't realize you're outnumbered on the corner automatic when the ball snapped, because if every physical, if an 8-man front, no one probably out there understands what 8-man front, the physical, the structure of it has you 4 people lined up inside your offensive tackles. There's 4 people. There's 2-3 techniques and 2-1 technique linebackers. That's a 4-4 defense. And some run wide tackle 6, but those guys, linebackers out there over tackles, off the ball, on the inside shoulder look of the tackles. You got 4 people wider. Well, that means if you're veer blocking down and your fullback is running his path and the quarterback keeps the ball, all of a sudden he's on the corner with the ball, with a lead back and a flare back, and you only got 2 people. You got an 8 technique and a 9, 8 techniques and a wide end, and you got a 6 technique. Someone over the tight end and the wide end, and all of a sudden the tight end or split receivers blocking your 3 deep. The first supporting back, that side of the ball, he's got one guy. I said, oh, you got 3 on 2. I mean, you got them outnumbered right there. And you got all the different blocking schemes you can use on the corner with them, against them. They don't know which one you're using right now. And so it's the only offense I can see that the quarterback can have the ball run at someone, they run from you. I'm serious.
No,
I mean, look. I said, look at that. The guy had the ball, and that guy running from him, and he jumps up the field. What? But he pitches the son of a bitch. Stop. Then he made a mistake because I got the pitch. I got to take the pitch.
Coach told me to get pitch.
So anyway, I looked at this. I got to see what they're doing to people. And I said, well, you ought to block it this way, this scheme right here against that. And this is another advantage it gives us. We can take our tight end, butt the damn 6 technique in and release to his 3 deep supporting back. And you know what, you got a good tight end. We had one, Albert Chandler, played pro ball for many years. Well, anyway, he butts him in the mouth. By the time he releases, that damn halfback cuts the damn knees out of that 6 technique before he looks around, you know. Then all of a sudden, quarterback's around the corner. There's 8 technique. We're doing things like that that hadn't been done. And that's why we ended up doing it. But I go and talk to Chuck. I said, Chuck, Chuck was wanting us to run the split back veer, what Houston was doing, because he was coached for Houston and Bill Yeoman. I said, Chuck, let's run the wishbone. No, we got Chuck. Well, we start the season. All right. I said, the only problem with running the split veer Houston runs is we didn't got Bill Yeoman up here to run the damn thing. I said, I don't understand the philosophy, and you have to throw the football. Quarterback's got to throw a lot of short stuff. I said, and that's something we've never done. We've been a rushing team first and not throwing the ball and dive back, fear blocking. The offensive linemen know how to do that stuff. But it's same as a wishbone. You use a veer blocking scheme, blocking down. But I said, Chuck, let's go. He said, no, we're going to go this. So, okay. So we start off the year and we lose to 2 teams we were so much better than. And all of a sudden they start having Chuck bumper stickers around Norman.
Oregon State.
Hey, I'm looking at this. We were so much faster, better than they were. And we got our ass beat by them. And I take part of the blame for me because I was running damn offense and we were hit and miss and hit. That's about what we were sputtered all the time. No consistency. Well, we get ready to play Texas, but we got an open date. And Texas is, won a national championship. Here they are, won it in '69, and we're going to get our butts beat by them regardless of what we do. So I go into Chuck's office. I go talk to the staff. I talk to the offensive staff, defensive staff. I said, I'm going to go talk to Chuck about let's make change today to the wishbone offense. And I go in and Chuck smoking a cigarette. I said, Chuck, you seen them Chuck bumper stickers? He said, yeah. I said, they're going to fire your ass. When they fire your ass, that means we all get fired. They get rid of all of us. And I said, I've talked to Laceville, the defensive staff, the offensive staff. They're 100% behind me. All of us voted on going to the wishbone right now, today. And the only person I care to talk to is Jack Milton, our quarterback, and Greg Pruitt, our split receiver. Because I want to bring him in at halfback, make sure he gets the ball ahead.
That's right.
So Chuck looks at me and he takes another drag off that cigarette. And he says, let me think about it. And I said, yeah, hell, they'll go call Biggie Munn, Duffy Dirty, all his coaches, and they'll tell him to stay with what he's got, do what they don't know what our problems. They don't know. I said, he calls me in the next morning. He comes in there and says, let's do it. I said, okay, guys, that's great. So I had the staff meeting with the whole team, offensive team, the next day. And I said, this is what we're going to do, guys. This gives us a chance to win. Now, Milton wants to throw the football. Right? Jack don't want to take it, spin around, throw it. Jack wants, as any quarterback does. But Greg Pruitt now has got to go to second team from him. Here, a great receiver, a superstar, and put him in second team halfback because the other guy knows how been to play at halfback and knows how plays in the system and all right now. And so we put Greg at second team halfback. He doesn't like that worth a damn. But we got to handle that. And we go down and play Texas, and we get the hell beat out of us. But I'm going to tell you something. After the game was over, I was happy. I was excited because we had taken the ball and had moved the ball and had made consecutive first downs. We had controlled the ball, and we weren't doing that before. But we moved the ball in Texas, and hey, they were the best in the country, and they couldn't stop us 3 or 4 drives. So when we came back from there, I was excited. Everybody else wasn't because they just saw the score. We got the hell beat out of us. Hey, and I told Lace, I said, Lace, we're on our way. We really are. He told the judge, Frank C. He called Judge Frank C., which told Judge who's his buddy. And he called Frank C. and says, Switzer said we're on our way. Well, Frank says, well, you tell Switzer he's on his way down I-35. What he's basically doing. And I said, you tell Frank C., hey, you just watch us. And anyway, we ended up coming back and playing Nebraska up there. It's 21-21, fourth quarter. And Peacock is broke, it wasn't Peacock, I forgot. Joe Wiley broke a counter for about 46 yards for touchdown. And we tied them. We ended up losing 28-21. But I know hey, we're on our way. And if we had done that in 1971, we come out like gangbusters. We come out leading the nation in every category, offensively, defensively. We're undefeated all year long we played Nebraska for the game of the century, both of us. But statistically, we're so much better than everybody, Nebraska and all of them. But we get to that game, and I look back on it, Jerry, and I said, if I had done this, I said, that day I went up and practiced on Greg Pruitt, Joe Washington, all our halfbacks on the 5 scheme because they were going to play the 9 technique, slow play it for the pitch, help the pitch, help the corner, their 3 deep corner out. And they were going to take the tackles, 5 technique, and we split our line pretty good, make a 5 technique show whether he's going to be a 4 or 5 or type 5. And that quarterback, that path that fullback's running, moving fullback up close. Hey, I'm telling you, that 5 technique has to show what he wants. He's closing and then scraping the linebacker for the quarterback. Well, if I practiced that one day, that a halfback's coming here, but they had never had the block like that before. But they would cut that linebacker around, and that quarterback Milton had turned up and been on that 3 deep safety just like that. And the damn tight end would be released outside the 9 technique, and the 9 technique is going to be running like hell because he got the pitch. Here comes the damn Greg Pruitt around. And if we just run that play, but you know what? We had a play similar to it. We ran the counter option. And we ran the counter option, faking it's a little slower getting there, but Milton rushed for 140 yards that day against Nebraska. And it was off to the counter option. And we're leading with, a minute to go in the game, and they take a 70-yard drive. They got to go on 4th down, I think, and he scrambles, taggy throws, and Johnny Rogers makes a diving catch, make a 9-yard play to give them a 1st down and keep their drive going. They get 30 yards. They give it to Kenny the rest of the way, and they score 30 seconds left in the game and go ahead and tossed us national championship. But I think that play, I think about if I'd stayed with that, or thrown the ball 4 or 5 more times at Johnny Harrison, just throwing poster flags to him. He was running wide ass open for one of them touchdown. But Anyway, I just thinking about things that used to go back and second guess yourself from all this. Always think about the losses. You never think about the wins. You think about what you could have done if you lost and could have won a game. But we did that, and then Chuck all of a sudden calls me in. I interviewed for the Michigan State job. Duffy's went to the Wishbone, and he's calling me every Sunday night. This is when you couldn't, you had to do it on telephone. I said, Duffy, what are they playing? What's it look like, the tight end split inside? What's the perimeter look like? I said, tell me how they line up, what technique they're lining up in. So I'm talking to Pad, drawing them up, and telling what schemes you ought to run, what plays you ought to run, how you ought to be blocking them. And Duffy really appreciated that, me helping him every week, because Chuck played at Michigan State. And he played for Duffy, and he says, help him. So I am. And so Duffy, when the season's over, he retired, and job opened up, and Duffy says, I want you to take this job. I said, I really do. So I went and interviewed for the damn job. And I come back, and I know that they're going to keep the staff. And I said, the only way they keep the staff is hire the defensive assistant there, which they did. And I interviewed the same day that Lee Corso did. Lee and I rode back to the airport together. He says, what do you think they're doing? I said, they're going to hire their defensive coordinator. And Lee Corso was coaching in Indiana then. So I come back a week later. Chuck calls me in his office, says, I'm taking the New England Patriot job. I want you to go with me. I said, you were visiting with the New England Patriots the last 3 weeks on Sunday. I go to Michigan State and visit that job. If they'd offered me that so much, I would have taken it. And you quit this job here? Shut you. But that's exactly what happened. And he said, I want you to go with me to New England. And I said, I want this job. He said, well, if you don't get it, I want you to come. So the staff wanted me, all the players wanted me to stay. We had a great year, 71, 70. We lost but 2 games in 2 years. And I was the offensive coordinator. So they finally get around, Regents getting together. And the only reason I ever got the GM job is because we had a guy on the Regents that played for Bud and was a lawyer, Jack Santee, out of Tulsa. Great Lounge. Santee Lounge. And he called me, and after they'd been interviewed Vince Dooley and Chuck Fairbanks, and not Chuck Fairbanks, Doug Dickey at Tennessee, and a bunch of other people. Everybody at the country clubs telling them they all hire this one and this one. The Regents never covered a kickoff or ever brought one back. You know that. And they don't know what the hell to do. But Jack Santee did. And Jack Santee says that the staff is great. We've had a great run here since went to the Wishbone. He says, you guys, we need to keep all the staff together, and just Chuck's the only one who got on the bus and left town, and we'll name you head coach, and we'll give you a 1-year contract. I said, well, don't announce it in the paper. You better announce it 4, because we're fixed to recruit a great class out of Texas. We're fixed to have a hell of a class. I said, we'll lose every player we're recruiting if you announce that, you dumbass Regents, do something like that. And he says, you're right. He says, we'll announce it as a 4-year contract. So I don't even need a contract. We're going to win. But I said, I got as long as I got little Joe and the Selman brothers here, we're going to win. So we ended up going, 54-3-2 next few years. So I got a great run started there. And I'm going to tell you something, girl. But I said earlier, but it's all about the people, the coaches you have. And I was doing something before anyone else did. I was doing the right thing before anybody else was doing it. I was doing the right thing. I was recruiting all the best players at all positions. I don't care who you are, what you are. You're coming here at Oklahoma to play because you're the best talent we can recruit. So I was recruiting the best black players in Texas. SEC and Southwest Conference weren't recruiting black players then.
Wow.
And I was getting the best players. I was saying, Daryl's accusing me of cheating. I said, Daryl, you're not here recruiting this player. I said, I'm just cheating. I'm doing the right thing. I'm getting the best damn players right now. And so I look back at that, and I did. We were getting so many great players out of Texas. We signed in 1974. We signed 13 of the top 19 players played the Texas blue chip list. Then, not only we signed those 13, I mean, but Billy Sims at Heisman Trophy won #1 player in Texas, and we assigned Kenny Keene, the #2 player in Texas. He's our fullback, and I signed so many kids, but no one offered George Cumbie a scholarship. I did. I would look at film at George, and I said, "That's so much to play now." He was old P.K. Gorman High School in Tyler. Everyone's going to John Tyler where Earl Campbell played. But hey, we looked at film of this cat over here, 6'1", 200 pounds, and run 4.5, 4.4. He made every tackle on the field and ran with football and scored touchdowns. Then we brought him in. He's a first-round draft choice, 2-time defensive player in the Big 8. I got a guy named Reggie Kinlaw out of Carroll City, Florida. And I got Reggie Mathis out of Chattanooga, Tennessee. And they were as good as anyone I signed out of Texas, both of them. They were both played in the league for years. And so when you throw those three in there with the 13 we got from Texas, my God, a lot of class. And but that put us on our way, and we were dominant in the 70s and 80s because of that. And now, not that anymore. And I'm glad I'm not coaching today. I'm glad I coached when I did. And I had I was better than they were because I was bringing better players. I was doing the right thing. And but that was really simplifies anybody with any sense would have done the same thing. And certainly we did. And I think that and that's when I look back, I say, hey, I wasn't a great coach. I was just a guy who needed talent and got players in here, and they treated them right, loved them, took care of them. And you needed help, I took care of them. They knew that. I knew that if they were good kids, I would take care of them. They needed help. I treat them like they're one of my own.
I love that, Coach, and I could tell that. And shout out to you for so many things. I mean, you've just mentioned that, and I want to. I'm going to ask. I'm going to tell you. In my opinion, I would love to do this again, Coach. We could go just 45, 50 minutes just talking about your career and how much you care about your players. I want to ask you this as a final question. I looked up to Jakey Sandifer. Not just for what he did for me,
Right.
Mentally and emotionally, but what he did for every player. Sooners helping Sooners. There wasn't there's a brotherhood at OU, Coach. You helped create that. There's teammates that I've had that have passed away. I couldn't imagine how you feel having guys that have passed away, and you know the dates to this day on all of them. Coach, I'm sure you've seen it. I've seen guys that go rich to poor, poor to rich. Guys go from super healthy to super sick. What does it mean to you that now we can have Jay and Jerry living on Jakey's dream and having something like Sooners helping Sooners for your
Well,
players?
there's a right to people. You couldn't bring young guys in here to do this because these guys have been around a long time and they know everybody and everybody knows them. A young guy, 27 years old, can't do that because he didn't have the network. He didn't have the connections. No one knows him. And these guys were known because he played for Bud and he coached for me back in the 70s. And Jay was a great player here at Oklahoma for Bud. And so they're well known, well respected, and they can network and touch people, and people will listen to them. They can open doors. That's the key. They can open doors where a young guy can't open the door. And that means so much. And so Jakey was fortunate to have those two to be able to come take over this thing. And it is great. Other programs around the country have copied what we do, but we do help both men and women athletes that, we're not talking about financially, but, hell with the portal and all this game. I hate the game today. I hate it. I hate what they're doing in the game today. But back then, you know what NIL means?
Just no, sir, I don't.
It means now it's legal.
Wow.
Now it's legal. What I was having to do back, I never offered a kid a damn thing to come to school here. No inducement ever offered a kid, you come here, I'm going to do this for you. Bullshit. Oh, I said, you come here, I'll take care of you like you're one of my own.
I love
my own
that.
kids. And I would. If you have a problem, hey, if you get sick or someone in your family dies or something, they can't get on a plane, fly back to Indianapolis, Indiana. I got kids right up there. They had to do that. I remember I fly girl athletes home. I remember I'd see them during Christmas holidays. I have a slush fund. I made my own slush fund. I sold tickets. I'd take so many Texas tickets, paper tickets. I'd sell so many Texas tickets that Scotty Hill was taking the paper sack and go meeting the Texas captain because they couldn't get anything because we're kicking Texas ass every year. They couldn't get anything for their tickets. So Scotty Hill took all our tickets down, got their Texas tickets, brought them up here. Then they go back and meet before the Texas game and give them a sack of cash for $180,000 back in. Now think about that. Back in the 70s, a sack of cash he gave the Texas players. Because we can sell them. These Oilers up here they like seeing us kick Texas ass. I never lost to Darryl Roll. So it was, but it's a different time, and we were able to. I could take care of, and Lucius got hit on all the time because we only had two black coaches, and we had so many black players that I know that they were getting. I said, Lucius, you and Wendell, I didn't truck one too much. I said, Lucius, you count what we have to spend, take care of these guys when they get nibbled and dying to death or whatever. I said, I'll make sure you're all taken care of. But I did do that, and I hope someone else did when the kid needed help to go home or airline ticket. But I'd send women, girl athletes. So I remember I had a girl from Winnipeg, a little white girl on campus, a sprinter. And I stopped. I was leaving the office late at night, and I saw her right across the street from Bud Wilkinson Hall. I said, "What are you doing here?" She said, "Well, I'll be here in the holidays. You know, you're not going home Christmas holiday?" No, I ride a bus. It takes 4 days to get to Winnipeg. And all. I should be in my office in the morning. Got an airline ticket for her. That's what you ought to do.
Right. Coach, we're running out of time. Listen, no, you're good. I beg, keep going. I'm going to beg you to come back, Coach, and I owe you an apology. I called you a legendary coach. I think this interview just showed you are a freaking legendary person. You really are.
You're nice to say all that. I know all I told you is the truth. I mean,
well, that's why. That's why. J.D. Runnels, Sooners Helping Sooners, the man that needs no introduction, Barry Switzer.